Sure. So I work for Lifestyle Services in Walsall, which is part of the Healthcare Trust. And we do lots of work to help improve people's mood. We're also looking at healthy diet, looking at drinking less, stopping smoking, so all the things that you like to enjoy on a Friday night, basically.
And so obviously you mentioned there stopping smoking.
Yeah.
Stoptober, only a few days away
Yes.
now. And what sort of advice are you giving out to people?
To go for it. If you do quit smoking for a month, then you're 5 times more likely to stay quit. So a really good reason to do it. Do it with a friend, because you're 36% more likely to quit then if you do have a bit of competition. And also download the Stoptober app, because it's got lots of tips on there. You can register for a free pack, and we've got some really big comedians supporting the campaign this year.
So which comedians have you got?
So there's Al Murray, and there's also the pub landlord, and you can see them. Yeah, so if you go on to Google, type in Stoptober, you can see all of their videos as well.
I mean, and what sort of events around Walsall and the Midlands are there catered for Stoptober? I mean, what sort of support is there out there for everyone?
So ourselves as a lifestyle service, we've got over 20 clinics in the borough that people can come to free of charge and obtain a prescription to actually get things like nicotine replacement products to help them quit smoking. Also, aside from this, we're also doing large-scale events all across the borough. Again, people can find out more about these by Googling Walsall Lifestyle Services, and they can come along and ask about sort of how they go about quitting in the local area.
And you mentioned there that if there is more of a chance of people quitting for good if they do stick with it. I mean, do you have many success stories where they have started in October and they really have seen it through to the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's such a bigger likelihood of you staying quit if you do it for a month, we do tend to find that people join our 3-month programme, which is what we encourage. By the end of the 3-month programme, they're fully fledged non-smokers and they're more likely to stay quit forever, which is fantastic.
I mean, do you invite them back to, help people like next year to take part in Stoptober and things like that?
We do sometimes have groups, so that's where people can sort of get together and support each other. And we do encourage our stop smokers to come on and do campaigns with us so that they can talk to people about their own experiences,
And so if people are watching now thinking smoking, they're thinking, oh, I really think I should get involved with Stoptober. Where should they go? How do they get involved?
So they can Google Lifestyle Services, Walsall Lifestyle Services. They can also contact us on 01922 444 044. They don't need to feel scared. They can come along. We can have a chat, an initial appointment, and then set them up with some treatment that's going to help them quit.
Yeah, and like you said, lots of things going on for people to get involved with and really get involved and try and quit.
Yes, and lots of campaigns online, so Facebook campaigns and also the Stoptober campaign that you can Google.
So we've been talking about Stoptober, but a similar concept on a different line is Go Sober. Can you tell me about that?
So again, it's encouraging people to not drink for the month of October. To try and perhaps instill better practices within us, because one of our primary concerns at the moment is binge drinking and also people not knowing the safe levels of drinking throughout the week.
And I mean, do you have any people signed up to take part in Go Sober? Or?
Go Sober is more of a sort of social media led campaign. So if people Google Go Sober, they can find out more about it online, but they can also follow it on Facebook as well and sort of put up how well they're doing and how successful they're getting on with it.
Because also there's Dry January, isn't there? Is that a really similar concept?
Very similar concept, and Go Sober is a little bit more new, if you like. It's a newer campaign, but again, it's just because we realise that people are quite naive to the impact of alcohol, particularly young people of today's generation.
How much of an issue is binge drinking?
It's pretty big, and people don't realise how much of a sort of health hazard it can be. And often people think, well, I don't drink throughout the week, so actually when I go out of a weekend, it's not going to be a problem if I consume a large amount of alcohol, but it can have just as much effect on the liver. And it can lead to very serious sort of health complications, as long as sort of all the social problems that come with heavily drinking of a weekend.
So obviously, similar to Stoptober, if people want to get involved, where do they go? Where do they get involved?
So as I say, it is mainly being led by consumers that want to get involved in it. So in terms of what the NHS provides during Go Sober, it's more around sort of promotional events where we'll be going into universities and also the colleges and encouraging people to think about their safe limits. But if you do want to take part, then we'd encourage you to go onto the social media sort of websites and actually sort of list yourself as being someone who's getting involved.
Yeah, because I'm guessing universities are a key market there, aren't they?
Especially this time of year with Freshers' Week
Yeah.
and things like that. And we quite often do a lot of events with the universities to show the effects of alcohol, yeah.
Brilliant. And then going back to smoking,
Yeah.
October's a big month for smoking because
Yeah.
obviously on the 1st of October the ban comes in for people smoking with passengers under the age of 18.
Yes.
I mean, what sort of impact do you think that's going to have?
I think it's going to be really difficult to actually enforce it, perhaps similar to when people were initially told they couldn't use mobile phones. But I hope that it will encourage people to actually consider why it's a damaging thing to do. So in terms of impact, I suppose it's getting people to be less naive, because actually if you've got young people in the car with you, you are exposing them to over 4,000 chemicals that come from a cigarette, of which they have no choice about. They're just sort of sitting there and inhaling that.
Yeah.
And to sort of draw a comparison, it's 11 times as much second-hand smoke as there would be in a bar if people were still allowed to smoke in a bar.
And what does the ban actually entail?
So if you are a 17-year-old driver up to a driver that's driven for years and years and years, the same rule applies. You'll be fined £50 if you are caught driving with somebody who is 18 or younger in the car.
Okay.
And that fine will be sort of imposed on those with a provisional licence as well.
So really does cover everyone.
Yes.
And you mentioned as well, in a soft top car, it doesn't apply, does it?
That's right. So if you've got a fully convertible car and the actual roof is down, then you won't be fined.
Yeah.
But anything else does apply. So if you've got your sunroof open, you can still be fined.
Yeah.
Windows, air conditioning, it has to be a fully convertible car.
So we have been talking about smoking and cigarettes, and there's been a new revelation in the world of smoking now, because the packaging is now going to be plain, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah. So the Children and Families Act that actually came around about May 2014 brought lots of legislation with it that's now coming into force. Some of that was to do with the smoke-free cars, some will be to do with the plain packaging. So we should start to see plain packaging actually coming through in shops next year in May. Obviously it's got to go to print first, but you will start to see them in the supermarkets, etc. We've also got a few other things to come with that, so people will have started to notice now that all cigarettes are behind shuttered displays, and you have to actually say what packet you want. You can't ask the cashier to actually look into that for you.
I mean, how influential do you think that's going to be in people trying to quit smoking and not take up smoking in the first place?
I think that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that actually it does put people off, but really this is something that's aimed more at our young smokers. With cigarette packaging not looking as attractive and them not being able to sort of advertise in the way that they have done previously, it is going to make young smokers think twice probably about buying cigarettes, and they are going to specifically use packaging that's quite a dull green colour, and it's still going to have all the warnings on it, so it's not going to be something that you really want to pull out of your pocket and show your friends. So that's the...
So it's no longer an accessory then?
That's right, yeah, definitely.
So hopefully then we should start seeing a change and less people taking it up and less social smoking at a younger age.
Yes, definitely, yeah, that's the hope.
Brilliant. So also, apart from smoking, your job entails a lot of healthy eating and also physical activity.
Yes.
I mean, what sort of advice is being put out there about healthy eating? I mean, typically in a day, what's a balanced diet?
Okay, so the main message that we try and get across to people that come and see us for this type of behaviour change is to actually look at the Eat Well plate. So this is something people can Google.
Yeah.
They can actually even buy an Eat Well plate from the British Heart Foundation, and it just shows you how to actually place your carbohydrates, your proteins, and how much of those you should be having. And this is a useful way to guide you, because sometimes people are quite naive to actually what they should be having.
Yeah.
And obviously, because fast food is so accessible, microwave meals, things like that, you really do need to be looking at the warning lights on the packaging that now are on every type of food that you can buy. And they should be hopefully green, and that means good to go. Anything that's sort of orange or red, we would be saying not to have too much of on a frequent basis.
I mean, it must be easy now, like people lead such busy lives. It's so easy just to go and get fast food, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I think people make quick choices, and if you're not used to knowing what to buy, then you're going to pick up the wrong things, especially if you're not doing much physical activity. There are certain things that you're going to need less of in your day-to-day diet.
And obviously a balanced diet goes hand in hand with physical activity and exercising. And typically, how much should people be exercising in a week?
So we have sort of guidelines that encourage people to do at least sort of 30 minutes of exercise a day. Well, we say 5 days a week. In Walsall, the good news is that we've got lots of free physical activity classes that people could come and engage in. And they are all over the borough, so they just need to Google Walsall Lifestyle Services to find out more.